Breaking Point's had Marianne on for the same reason it usually, and I might duck out of this because it can only take so much. And Trump is spoke at the NRA. Where is that? It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Yeah. I love guns. I love gun. So, Marianne went on, on I guess this is even on TikTok. I don't know why the fuck that's part of an interview. Marianne exposes how neoliberals failed Americans in general. Why am I see-through right now? Hold on. Hold on. Now I've got to fix my filter. The heck? 1 second. Editing the filters. Taking the thing. Let's see. We'll raise this up. I was trying to... Whoops. Oh no. I want to go down. I'm like Marty McFly. Okay, that's better. Yeah. Yes, I was turning into a ghost. It was terrifying. By the way, this is the standard shot that she's using right now, and I don't know why. I don't know why she picked it. Because it looks like vacant and condescending. Those seem to be the two. And you tell me what I'm projecting onto this photograph, but it's the same with Trump. They use the same one over and over again. And maybe they grabbed it, whatever. But everybody's going for the same one. It's very strange. Okay, here we go. Since we're on a spiritual tack and it's Bad Friday. Apparently last week was Good Friday, so we're back to having Bad Fridays. Let's see.
Well, if the presidential election were held today on what is one of the biggest social media platforms in the country, in fact, the biggest certainly under people among 50 years old, the winner of that prize would be none other than Marianne Williamson.
That's right.
Wouldn't even be close. Absolute landslide blowout victory.
So we're joined by the president-elect of TikTok now.
TikTok herself.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's the idea that in the TikTok polls, that's what she supposedly went, which is, by the way, meant to be them mocking her and also just understand the conversation that's happening about TikTok right now and the company behind it.
Marianne Williamson joins us now. Marianne, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And so what do you make of this Marianne mania that has been gripping TikTok, and how did you...
Marianne mania that is gripping TikTok, a site, by the way, aimed at 13-year-olds.
Learn, actually, that you've become such a kind of cultural phenomenon on this app.
No, you are doing well on the meme app. This is all irony. They're fucking with you, Marianne, and if you can't see this, you absolutely do not belong anywhere near the levers of power.
Well, you know, part of my decision-making about whether or not to run had to do with taking a college tour. I spoke at 8 colleges and universities because I wanted to get a sense of where younger people were and whether...
A lot of times they're not in college.
They would see me and whether I would see them and whether there would be any connection in terms of what I wanted to do as a candidate and hopefully one day as a president. And so I feel I understand the alignment between what I have to say and younger people. You know...
Yes, they're gullible. They have less to reflect on. They haven't been bamboozled enough yet to have, to tap the brakes when someone sells them pie in the sky horseshit. I understand the appeal. I know a lot of comics that tour colleges because it's the only way they can get laid. Because everywhere else, the world is full of grown women who know better.
Oh, Gen Z, they're not even 20th century people. Most of these kids in college today weren't even born in the 20th century, or if they were.
Yes, we know they're practically children.
Or they just hung out there for a few years as babies.
Yeah, that's what you do. Babies just hang out. That's what they do.
And so they have a visceral sense that they are living their lives at the effect of bad ideas left over from the 20th century.
Yes. Like the industrial age. And,
Every generation wants to individuate. Every person does. But this generation is individuating from a century and from a millennium. They want to build on what worked.
No. All right, fucking hell. Gen Z is not quitting the entire modernization. They're like, you know what? Fuck everything that happened from the year 1001 on. I don't like these millenniums. Yeah, I hate millennials so much. I'm gonna hate culture and growth in the world on 1,000-year scales.
And they want to cut the cord and start over again with a.
No, they don't. And if they do, it's because they're fucking children. None of them want to cut the cord. None of them are volunteering to be contestants on Naked and Afraid New Nation. They're all on their fucking phones nonstop, and none of them are like, if you took it away from me and go, hey, yeah, congratulations, just start from scratch. What did you do? Why'd you take my phone? Well, you hate everything that was created in the last 1,000 years. So here's your flint spear, and someone wrote on a piece of parchment how to make black powder, but I don't know what to tell you. Good luck, and I'm going to need back every garment that you have that has buttons or zippers on it. Get the fuck out of here.
A lot of things, and that's my agenda, and they hear me.
What's your agenda? To take us back to a time before we industrialized and developed agriculture as between nations? We need to go back before this whole democracy thing.
And the fact that their pain is recognized by my campaign, they don't want to hear this BS about how the economy is doing well. Last night I spoke to at Yale University. I said something at Yale.
I've spoken at Yale as well. And?
But I also said at Stanford, and I saw all these.
Oh, well, I have not spoken to Stanford, so you're one up on me.
These kids nod their head. I said, even with a degree from one of these schools, you know you're not going to be able to afford the house that your parents had.
Of course not, because they're at Yale and Stanford. Their parents' house cost $27 million. They're going to get it when their parents pass, or their dad divorces their 20-something stepmom, Bunny Lebowski.
You know that it's going to, all of this neoliberal trickle-down economic theory that so holds down the majority of people. On some level, it will hold you down too.
On some level, yes. And on the way that most of them will eventually probably have taxes raised on capital gains.
And even if the system says to you, oh, we'll let you in because it needs the best and the brightest to.
Yeah, just because you're the best and the brightest. Don't think for a second you're going to get the best. Well, you are going to get the best, but not all of it. Some of what you get is going to be, frankly, the best. But, a couple of you who might be here on scholarship will, obviously you're going to make friends with people who are probably going to give you a big job and you're going to start a tech firm together or whatever. None of us knows exactly where the economy is going in terms of, the ChatGPT. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yes, you're all rich. And
to perpetuate itself, don't allow yourself to be seduced, because it's not okay for you to live your life where everything's okay at the expense of pain and suffering for the majority of people.
Yeah, I don't know that most of them are planning that. I think they're just trying to get an MBA.
Young people hear that, and I'm glad that they do.
Well, the ones that would come to hear you speak, perhaps, that aren't doing it because they get a credit in their women's studies program or in their political science program or in their arts, creativity, and lunacy minor or whatever.
And there are a bunch of different types of clips of yours that have gone viral. Some are kind of speeches of yours from the 1980s and 90s. Some are clips from the
ones that I was present at.
Your 2020 presidential campaign. I want to play one here, though. That this is from the.
Oh. Marianne doesn't seem to be comfortable right now when they start talking. Let me play a clip of you from
the current presidential campaign been viewed, millions, many millions of times. Let's play that one.
Many millions on TikTok
Here.
What are you going to do when you first get there? First thing I'm going to do is cancel the Willow Project. I'm also going to cancel all student debt. I'm going to declassify marijuana from a Schedule I drug, in addition to auditing the
Fed,
the Pentagon.
The Pentagon, right?
Also, I want to cancel. We're going to immediately.
By the way, they do audit the Pentagon.
Immediately cancel all government contracts with union busting companies. And we're going to really bolster the NLRB, and we're going to really bolster everything involved with supporting unions. One of the first things I'll do is put together a conference where I hear from the best experts in this.
I know the best people. We have stupid people doing our stupid things. I will get the best people together. Oprah, Gary Busey.
Country on everything related to childhood. John Kennedy said, in 10 years, we'll land a man on the moon. You know what I'm going to say to you? Within 10 years, every public school, this is my vision, that every public school in the United States would be a palace of learning and culture and the arts.
And what struck me about that clip is that it kind of combines cultural critique and cultural issues with kind of with class war, with corruption, with a pro-worker agenda. You don't see a lot of candidates talking about NLRB or getting into the weeds on
what Biden literally ran on being the most pro-union president in the last fucking 56 years? Try 57 if you're including the year ran before. What?
In the way that the federal government could cancel contracts with union busting or non-union firms. So is that?
By the way, that's all of North and South Carolina. Any right to work state, any company that's in a right to work state would automatically under that have their contract canceled. So every worker that works at those places would automatically lose their job. So which is not, it's beyond even arguing the point. It won't happen. She can't. This is not, again, this goes to I will cancel all student debt. You cannot, as president, cancel all student debt. It is not possible. It isn't possible. Everybody who tells you that the president could, with a stroke of a pen, just erase all student debt also would, I guess, like a world where Donald Trump could have erased all of Boeing and Raytheon's debt with a stroke of a pen, because there is no debt is debt as far as the law is concerned. Good Lord.
Are you finding that the combination of those is resonating, or is one of...
Yes, it is resonating with sponge-headed assholes who believed it last time or weren't around last time to see it doesn't work out that way.
Them kind of hotter than another to your audience?
My political campaigning is no different than my writing. I say what I
it is.
believe needs to be said. Many years ago, I read a quote by a man named Arnold Patton. He said, if you genuinely have something you need to say, there's someone out there who genuinely needs to hear it.
Yes, I see that all over QAnon sites.
I'm not filtering myself. Well, do they want to hear that? Will they like it if I say that?
Yeah, nobody cares. I don't care about whether you want to be liked or not. You should filter what you are saying. And I know this is a crazy notion, and I certainly, there's limitations on this at all presidential candidates, I would assume. You should filter what you're saying on the actually possible. Then we can decide whether or not the things that you're saying that are actually possible are good or bad.
Will there be a demographic who hears that? I'm saying what I believe needs to be said in order to repair the country, which I also believe is what needs to be said in order to win the presidency in 2024. Yes, I think that a lot of people on the left, on the right, everybody's in these silos. And I think this goes back to Gen Z. I think Gen Z are among millions of Americans who, can we break out of the silos?
Oh, I see. Gen Z is in this wonderful world of centrist pie in the skyers.
Please, can we realize that in many issues, it's both and. It's political and it's cultural. It's policy change and it's personal change. I think that's what the 21st century demands. This thinking, that's sort of the stale thinking. Well, if you talk about the NLRB, you're not also going to be talking about cultural issues with children. Well,
what the fuck? What Democrat doesn't talk about like unions or workers' pay in their campaign, and also talk about prenatal care and Head Start? And so these are all Democratic programs. This whole, honest to God, you would have to erase 1,000 years with one of those like Men in Black flashy things to run on this idea, because you're presenting this. I guess you're acting like you invented it all. But this idea has never occurred to anybody else. Nobody else is working towards it every fucking day. The rest of us, I'm sorry, the rest of us dumbass Democrats have just been towing the line because what we wanted was an attack on Iraq this whole fucking time. That's all. We got what we wanted. And so, ACA, child's, tax credit, that kind of stuff. We pretend to want those things, but it's really because we're just neoliberals who want to destroy the Middle East. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, actually, maybe you will. And I think that that's where people are ready to be. And
yeah,
so, yes,
I was going to say totally unshackled by that binary, that it's either politics or it's personal, it's either left or it's right. And
okay, first of all, it's left or right, politics or personal. You're not shackled to that binary. What are you talking about? Every single politician, even the shitty ones, makes the domestic and foreign policy about you and kitchen table issues. That's what everybody talks about. It doesn't mean they actually do it. That term, nobody's shackled to the terminology. Well, I'd love, a part of me wants to talk about the potential for human beings in the United States of America, but I'm really stuck with I'm really just here to talk about budget all the time.
And on that note, what I like about that clip is, this is one of the same things I like about looking back at Ronald Reagan's rhetoric, is that it's kind
of... Oops. Rhetoric would be the word.
Kind of soaring and optimistic. When you look back at how Americans talked about the future in the 1980s, or successful American politicians talked about it in the 1980s, there was seeing something on the horizon. Or in the 1960s, Kennedy, like you said.
Or Biden saying the number one word that he would use to define America is possibilities. But the potential of the people is what he's been telling. But ignore that, because that's current.
And I want to ask, in some sense, it seems to me really that this stuff resonates because Gen Z is in a lot of pain, because they're desperate for something to be optimistic about, because they're just sort of drowning in pessimism, because they are in a lot of personal pain for both political and cultural reasons. But I wonder if that
citation needed.
Your take on this too, that they really are in pain.
Yes, how are you able to speak at these colleges like Stanford and Yale over all the weeping?
Pain, and so
yes, I was just at Coachella, and I couldn't hear the bands over everyone tearfully screaming into their handkerchiefs.
Part of why your message resonates with them is sadly because of that.
Absolutely. They've been sold a bill of goods that success means making it within what is ultimately a meaningless universe.
Well, I can't imagine why they'd feel suicidal in that. If it's a meaningless universe, gee whiz, friends,
And if all the system can offer is
creature comforts, the ability to build a family, sex, drugs, and psychedelics, and social media, online connection, I mean, it's so much better than, well, obviously the Wild West. If your house was out in the middle of nowhere, I suppose that would have been a little more. What I'm trying to say,
way to have success within a hyper-capitalist system that will
hyper-capitalist
have you
which of course is just, all transactions are done at the barrel of a gun.
like
all the time.
like just every single day trying to struggle to make it more, and at the expense sometimes of the things
Yeah, man, the hustle is real.
that matter most in life. They understand that something's wrong with that. I think millions
By the way, that's what college kids always go through. I'm sure Marianne remembers the 60s. I guarantee it.
of Americans understand that something's wrong with that. People understand that this country has swerved away from very essential things. And even people, one of the things we were talking about last night, because a lot of these kids are into economics, and political theory. And I
The ones that are coming to see you and they're like, this sounds like bullshit.
pointed out that Adam Smith himself, the primary architect of free market capitalism, said it cannot exist outside an ethical universe. So
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to actually, there's ethics in trade. It does have to function. Nobody thinks, all right. I'm just aggravated. All right, do it. I can't do the whole thing. It's just a waste of fucking time.